Hello and welcome to Epic Flail. In this video, we take a deep dive into the recently leaked/spoiled Chaos Space Marine detachments. We talk about the overall army rule, we pull out some of the best interactions and stratagems for each of the detachments. We talk about how those detachments rank against each other within the book. And at the end of the video, we zoom out a bit and think about where Chaos Space Marines sit in the overall Warhammer 40,000 meta. While you're here, if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you a Chaos player and seeing these leaks and thinking, this looks pretty good? Or are you a bit worried? Do you think it should be stronger? Do you not play Chaos and you play some other factions like me, like Knights and Custodians, who might read this book and feel sad that you're going to have to play it and get shot by it and see them walk through walls while you stand on the other side, staring at the wall like an absolute chump. Also consider becoming a member of the channel. We've got loads of really cool member benefits. It's only £2.99 a month. You get access to our Discord, you get extra Meta Monday videos, you get extra access to our players during our live streams, and you also get random videos as I sit in front of a camera and think and talk about Warhammer 40,000. So if you like all the stuff that we create, please consider being a member, like and subscribe, but most of all, enjoy the video.
Rob, thanks so much for joining me, my good friend. We're going to be talking about Chaos Space Marines. Do you like Chaos Space Marines, Rob? I sort of hate them a little bit as a strong Space Marines man. I sort of hate them.
I'm on the fence. Obviously, I'm a World Eater player, but I'm a Sisters of Battle, so, you know, some of them need to be burnt on the stake, and other times just one wants it, right?
I'm a World Eater player now, thanks to you lending me the World Eaters for a bit so I can have a go with them. Thank you, my friend. I'll see how I get on with those.
No worries.
Right, CSM, let's get straight into it. Tell us a bit about the general army rule, and then let's just get into the detachment and talk about the detachment. So what's the army rule and what we're expecting to see from them?
Cool. So the army rule is start Pact. It's the same as you'd seen before, but they've changed it ever so slightly. Now you have to do the test first, which is easier to remember, but it means if you, let's say you're on 3 health, it's actually a decision now whether or not you do this, because if you Dark Pact and fail, you take D3 mortals, you could kill yourself before you even get to shoot, which is different from the last time. The effects, obviously, you can choose to have sustained hits or lethal hits, which is quite nice. They've added a rule in now and clarified it that you can bring Noise Marines, Plague Marines, Rubric Marines, Core Marines up to, I think it's 500 points. There are a couple of interactions where they've said this doesn't work on certain units, and I'll get into that. One thing you need to know is a damned unit and a non-damned unit. So anything that you would consider a Chaos Cultist is going to be a damned unit, and that's important going forward.
I'll flag that in my brain.
Rule.
Okay. So no major changes with the army rule. Dark Pact's always been good. It's always felt like a very, very strong army rule. There's a lot of CSM players that are very happy that's not gone anywhere.
No. And I think because of the change to doing it first means you won't have, I forgot to do my Dark Pact halfway through, your turn as well, which is nice.
Good. Jump straight into the detachments then, mate. Let's take me through the detachments. Tell me which ones have jumped out.
We're going to go in with Veterans of the Long War. I'm going to call it the Ultramarines. If you could pick a Space Marine detachment and move it across, this is basically where we're at. They get Oath of the Moments, okay, like a Space Marine player would. They pick one unit that is called their Hatred unit, and they can change it forwards. They get, this is supposed to be Black Legion, so their Abaddon has a rule in there. But if you start looking at their stratagems, they've got Armor of Contempt. You've seen that one before.
Very marine. Who did think they are taking all these marine rules?
Yeah, exactly.
Lazy. It's just reroll hits, right? It's just a straight oath copy.
Correct, yes. They've got a stratagem where they can, if they kill that Oath of the Moments, they can move the Oath of the Moments. They can give themselves bolt guns and combi weapons and stuff, devastating wounds. And then they have a 2 CP against that Oath of the Moment unit. They can fight first. So you charge them fights first. It's quite good.
I like how you call it Oath of the Moment. It makes it feel a bit like...
I mean, it's
the
just
Oath of the Moments.
Yeah. It's going to be easier for other people to understand it.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I'll go through my tier list at the end.
Yeah, sure. But what are your main kind of thoughts on this one then? Oath of the Moment is super solid. again, like you can't go too far wrong with O for moment.
Yep, exactly. This is if you haven't got an idea of how you want to play the army, this is your safe bet, okay? You can put whatever army, whatever models you want to go into it, and because that, you're picking an enemy unit, it doesn't actually matter what you've got in your army. You're going to get the army rule. There are some nice, I think they've got a reactive movement, much like Marines do. So, your army can run away as infantry and mounted, so non-tank, but it is pretty good.
So this is kind of like a solid all-rounders detachment, right? Like you can't go too far wrong with it. Doesn't look to be any howlers with it.
No, nothing at all.
And Abaddon's super solid, and he has a character. I mean, if you're building something around him, and he's got his usual units that he takes, like doesn't seem like you go too far wrong with that.
So they've also changed him, so he no longer works with damned units. So the cultists, he no longer gives them the invulnerable save. He no longer gives them all the rerolls they hit. He only works with the Space Marines. The cultists are below him. So there's now a lot. Let's take Black Legion, which is 50 units of cultists, give or take, and Abaddon. Now you have to take Marines. So, yeah, I quite like it.
What we got after that then? What's after?
We've got Masters of Misdirection, or those who are interested in the law, or the legions. This would be the Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
This is an army rule which has interesting connotations, but doesn't feel like an army rule. Okay, you pick a number. We're going to say it's 3 because we're going for our 2,000 point list. Legionary units and cultist units. You could have 3 of each or any combination of up. And any characters that go with them, they gain Infiltrator's ability. Okay? So you basically can field them up on the board. You don't get to put Epic Heroes, so no Lucius to give that unit fights first, which is a shame. And then you deploy them like Infiltrators. At that point, they don't have an army rule after there. It's gone. Okay? That is them done. If you look at their enhancements, they've got one which allows like a Lord can teleport into a unit, much like the Sanguinor does, but only into a legionary unit. And you can't have a character attached. So if you've got a couple of infiltrating units in the no man's land, your opponent comes in and you're like, oh look, here's my Chaos Lord in the unit that you weren't expecting, which is quite cool. And then they have a way of, imagine you have generic captain, right? That generic captain could be a tech marine for a turn, or he could be a librarian for a turn, as he basically mind warps.
Little Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, exactly. They've got some pretty cool stratagems. Like if you want a number of charges, you can go, well, I'm going to charge you 4 units, or this plus one that just came in from reinforcements, deep strike, 9 inches away. Potentially you could have +3 on the charge. If 3 other units have charged, you've got you can trigger deadly demise off another unit, which sounds hilarious. If one of their characters is in range of the Silent King, for example, the Silent King gets destroyed, they can be like, oh look, here's the button, click the button, the Silent King does his 2d6 deadly demise to everyone, like it just happens, they don't roll
whatever
for it.
They kill, they can force a deadly demise.
Yep.
That's quite fun.
So your army can kill it. Your lead character has to be within 18 inches of whatever you want to deadly demise. So, Space Marines get out around their Land Raider, you blow the Land Raider up and it does D6 mortals to everyone within 6 inches.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a bit of fun.
It's quite, bit deceptive. Most of Chaos Space Marines have like a fallback shoot and or charge. And they've got this one. And I believe they've got at the end of your opponent's movement phase, they can fall back. They can make a normal move up to 6. So they're like a sneaky list. You're going to be using lots of legionaries. You're going to be using lots of cultists, and you're probably going to want a variation of lords. They don't seem, there's no rules at all that help them with the tanks, like nothing at all.
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be a very infantry-based army. It looks quite, they probably have, in my honest actual opinion, the strongest stratagem that their book has. So infiltrators in Space Marines have this aura of 12 inches. Your opponent can play around that, right? They have one Heretic Astartes, so one Marine unit in the Codex. Before you would put your reinforcements down for 1 CP, gains that 12-inch aura.
That seems pretty good. What do you think of that as an overall detachment, though? That detachment rule doesn't seem amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So that you don't have an army rule after deployment; it just goes away. So I'm not going to. In fact, I don't think it's the weakest detachment in the book. I would probably put it in 7th place out of all 8. Okay, it has really strong stratagems because you can, reactive remove, stop people deep striking. The click boom is more of a meme than actually useful, but when it goes off, it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of them that good players will try and stop you doing anyway. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's very telegraphed. Whereas that other stratagem that we just read out, that's quite hard. Like the scrambled coordinates, that would just cause a lot of people a headache, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
like in the hands of a good player, that's and it's only 1 CP.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to use that turn 2 and 3 probably against most armies.
Yeah.
The only issue is rapid ingress gets around it. Okay.
Yeah, because it's in the reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase.
Yeah, so your opponent can rapid ingress around it. So a good opponent, is going to know to rapid ingress around it. But armies, Necrons and Grey Knights, I'd consider probably in the top 5-10 armies in the game, are all jumping around. Well, they can't against that. You're not going to get your key ability off, or you're not going to get that, really nice charge because of this. Is that worth playing the detachment for? I guess the meta's going to shake out and tell me for sure. If I'm honest, I think the next detachment is arguably the most impressive if you want a Marine-based army.
It's the Biker Boys, the Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, so Renegade Raiders is the detachment, and it's supposed to be the Biker Boys. I'm telling you right now, it's not. Okay,
it's just because I've got it in the picture.
Yeah,
bikes, honest.
Yeah, we want you to take bikes.
Yeah. Everyone play bikes. Sure.
And I sort of went, nah. So, ranged weapons equipped on Heretic Astartes models. Now, tanks, okay, because it's Heretic Astartes, it's not just infantry. From your army have the assault ability. So your whole army can move, advance, and shoot. Now that's pretty good, right? Drop your Predator around the corner. It needs that extra 3 inches. I can make that 3 inches. I'm still going to shoot. Your opponent is suddenly playing units that could go 12, go 18 and shoot. Havocs can go 5, can go 11 and shoot. It changes the math of the dynamic really, to such an extent that you're going to struggle you can't cover all of the angles.
It's not just that, though, is it? There's something else. There's a cherry on top for this.
Yeah, in a game that armor penetration has been reduced, if your opponent that you're making an attack, and it doesn't say ranged attack, is an attack, so it works on melee as well, is in range of an objective marker, so one of their models in that unit, not fully within, is within range, you get armor penetration increased by 1.
That's so good.
The melee thing is huge.
Yeah, that's really good.
Now
that's amazing that it's any attack.
Yeah. A lot of the melee in the game is AP2, AP1. Against 3-up armor generally, 4-up armor generally. This can turn, your power fists AP2. Well, now they're AP3, which means Space Marines are making 6-up saves. Your opponent in his mega armor can't armor of contempt or whatever it is to get himself a 3-up. He's still making 4-ups on his invulnerable save, and you haven't had to do anything. If that wasn't good, this detachment unfortunately gets better. In the enhancements, there's 2 that I'm going to pick up. Okay. the first one is Dread Reaver. So Heretic starts model only. Each time a bear makes a melee attack, if the unit is within 12 of your, is wholly within 12. Yeah, so they have to go within your deployment zone. Okay, you could reroll the hit and wound roll. Now, obviously, this is going to depend on the price. But if you're going to be dropping a unit into the back line, or you want something to set up to disrupt the enemy's deployment zone, you know, on something like Hammer and Anvil or something like that, rerolling the hit and wound roll, if this is a 10, 15 point enhancement, you're probably going to snap take it. If it's a 2025, we may not. But the real juice of this is Mark of the Hound, okay? Heretic starts model only. Models in the bearer's unit have the Scout 6. That means you can put them in a tank and they have Scout 6. So you can put your Rhino chosen in the Rhino with this Lord, scout the Rhino up 6, get out the Rhino, move, charge.
Well, it would move the Rhino.
Yeah, so because the unit has Scout, right? Units in dedicated transports confer their Scout ability to it, which is why you can do it with things like Dominions and Sisters of Battle or a couple of other units in there. I think you could do Scouts and Razorback, not that anyone ever takes Razorbacks, but you can do it with that. But even though, you know, things like, I don't quite know what because it's Heretic starts, we don't know what leaders it is, but you could potentially put it on Possessed till you have move 8.
Yeah, so you could scout the Rhino 6, 8. Jump them out 3, move them, charge.
Yep. And
cheeky threat range.
Yes, really nice threat range.
What about the strat? So it's looking good so far for this detachment.
Really good. So, Ruinous Raid for 1 CP. If you've disembarked from a transport, okay, you can re-roll the hit and wound roll, and you can do that in the shooting or fight phase.
Well, that pairs really nice with what we were just chatting about there, right?
Yep. You can get in there. You do your re-roll. You get out of the Rhino, go in, re-roll hit and wounds roll. If you want to spend an additional CP for Reaver's Haste, okay, you can do it. You can get out the Rhino, you can move, you can pay 1 for Reaver's Haste to advance, and then you can charge after doing that, and you get +1 to the charge. For 2 CP, my big unit of Chosen with the Chaos Lord coming out you that was dangerous before, well, to quote Spinal Tap, let's turn it up to 11.
Yeah, that's going to be really strong.
You could that, you know, just that precision, like, that's really strong. You've got Scour and Seize. In this meta right now, if you take out the War Boss in a Mega War, they can't double war, so that the Bully Boys are not strong, or the Technomancer out of the race. Most characters, you can do it with the Epic Challenge, but they're not going to kill it. So they've got Scour and Seize for 1 CP, and it's pick that unit until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit on an objective, so it doesn't have to be the character on objective, but you know, that unit of Wraiths or Mega Knobs on the objective that they're holding it with, gains precision. So the whole unit, you can do like...
That's your character dead, basically, and it's like,
correct,
all your characters are going to die.
And if you pull like the big Necron Wraith Menace that's been really strong with 18 Wraiths, like I told you, remember if going back I told you it would be, you could just take the Technomancer out of the unit, they lose their 5-up Feel No Pain or 4-up Feel No Pain. No, and then the rest of the attacks don't get a Feel No Pain, and they do way more damage. So I'm going to say this detachment is arguably the second or first best detachment, depending on your playstyle in the Codex. If you want to play infantry, you're going to take this one. There is one that will lead till last, I think, that is arguably more powerful, but it has some downsides. So yeah, I quite like this.
One that seems interesting is the opportunistic raiders. So you can do that at the end of any fight phase, right? So at the end of your opponent's fight phase, one Heretic could start his unit from your army that was able to fight that phase. they could move 6, or if they're mounted, they could move 12. Oh, so you would have to have killed something. They would have to have killed something in your opponent's fight phase because they have to have been able to fight.
Yes.
So they would have to have, I guess it could be in your turn as well. You could have killed something and be like, right, I'll move back 6 or forward 6, or I'll jump on an objective, or that seems good.
Well, remember, you can put it on bikes as well, or jump pack troops.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you hit them with a jump pack troop, well, actually, I think it needs to be
normal move up to 6.
Bike.
Yeah, it's normal move up to 6 for normal. If it's mounted, it can go 12.
Mounted, so it'd have to be a bike. So that you could potentially kill a unit of scouts in your opponent's at the start of your turn, move 12, or let them, leave one alive by some careful positioning, that kind of thing, bounce up 12.
And they've got armor of content.
Yeah. Easily the strong.
It's really strong. This is really strong. And then you throw in the fact they've just got Dark Pact anyway as an army rule.
Yep.
This seems...
I really like this.
Yeah, this seems like it has a lot of utility. And I like detachments and lists that have utility but also present a problem. Do you know what I mean? They're like, right, I've got stratagems that make me more resilient. I've got stratagems that give me movement shenanigans, but also, can you deal with this? Can you deal with my scouting rhino and these guys jumping out and charging your first turn? Like, do you have an answer to that? I've got an answer to your stuff. Do you have an answer to this? I think that's a lot of lists just sometimes skew hard into presenting loads of problems, they're not necessarily having answers. But this one seems pretty cool.
Space Marines are definitely one of those armies. They can deal with most threats, but they're best on the offense.
Yeah. What's up next, my friend?
Dread Talons, aka Night Lords. Now, I love the Night Lords lore. I love the way they play. This detachment is interesting. So in a battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit that is below its starting strength is within 12 of one or more enemy unit, you may make them do a battle shock test. If at -1, okay? They don't have to do an additional battle shock test like they do with the Tyrannid army. So this is an army rule that depends on having traded, okay? Because if your opponent is hiding his units, or you fully clear them, or he fully, you run in and kill them, this never triggers. So
you've got to be tickling stuff. You've got to be able to just plink a model off here, plink a model off there.
Yeah. Now
the 12. Can I just ask a question about, Rob? Is it every unit? It's not. You don't pick a unit. It's every enemy unit that's below starting strength that's within 12 or more of a Heracrostatus unit. That takes about
every unit. Yeah. So not just one, every unit. And if enemy, the second part of if they're within 12 of one or more of your units, you take a battle shock test. It's a -1. Applies to all battle shock tests taken, but throughout the game. So that's going to be, you're going to have to try and make sure that you've got units within 12. It is quite strong. Now, their battle shock tests, so you're aware, do stack if they come from different effects. So Harkon, the Harkon buff won't stack with this because it uses the same thing, but I can't remember, I think it's Raptors have, if you're within 6 inches, you're at -1. So you can stack it with that, which is going to come back as an interesting combo later on. Well, if you look at the enhancements, I'm going to pick out 2 again. Warp Field Thrusters basically is uppy downy for a Chaos Lord and his unit. That's kind of strong. You already know uppy downy is great. Every Imperial player takes it on the Calidus Assassin. That's what
Shrike, what's his face have? Shrike.
Yeah.
Raven Guard Captain, pick a unit up.
Exactly. And then I quite like Night Shroud. Now, it isn't going to break the bank. It's not that good, but it gives your unit stealth, which modifiers to hit are ranged are quite strong if you're positioning the unit correctly. So You can make sure that I'm gonna deep strike or rapid ingress, and only one unit can hit me. This changes the math on that unit. Again, I'm going to say if this is a 10 or 15 point enhancement, I probably take it. If it's 20, 25, we don't know the points. You don't see this at all. But I quite like it on that unit. I'm going to rapid ingress because it means I can put the unit out a little bit out on the open if I need to secure some secondaries. And then they've got a quite nice unit of strats. They've got the 3-inch deep strike that we all know and love, or hate, depending on your feeling.
Both. A bit of both. Depends what I'm playing.
This combos well with the Raptors because it's battle shock tests. When this drops in, then you take a battle shock test as well. So you'll be taking that battle shock at -2, which is quite reliable. They're eligible to charge when they fall back and shoot, so you can't just tie them up with silly units. And they also have if your unit is below half strength or battle shocked, you can add 1+1 AP. So do you remember I was saying before I like the other one because they just get -1 AP on objectives? These guys pay a CP to have that some of the time because you either have to be battle shocked or be below half strength. And a lot of the rest...
good, but the Tyranid thing is quite annoying, as both having played Tyranids. It's sort of like, it's not janky, but it's difficult to rely on those sort of strats in it because then your opponent just passes it and you're like, okay, that's super.
Correct, yeah.
That's super annoying. I'd rather it be 2 CP and you just get +1 AP. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes, exactly.
You definitely know it's going to happen. Rather like, oh, you fail. Oh no, you pass. Never mind. Okay.
And it's really good into some armies and terrible into others. My sister's a battle that are on leadership 6. Even with the -2, I'm on leadership 8. I can potentially pass that with miracle dice. My Custodes or other armies at leadership 5, even at leadership 7, I pass that half the time. If you're putting -2 on me, if you're putting -1 on me, I don't fail it. Conversely, if you come up against orcs, the whole army's going to be battle shocked 90% of the game. So...
And we know there's going to be a lot of orcs in the next few weeks.
Exactly. So, if you want to play Raptors and Talons and jump packs and enjoy that kind of army, this has tools for you to do so. I still think the other Raiders is stronger because you've got advance and charge and AP all the time. But
this looks good though. This doesn't look awful. Like, it's a bloody example of stratagem that's forcing people to take battle shots. Fight phase after a Heretic Astartes unit from your army destroys a character unit. The target is your Heretic Astartes unit, and the effect is each enemy within 12 inches and visible to the unit must take a battle shock test. So that's another one where you could just spam it around. Especially if you're doing that in your fight phase, you could really mess up your opponent's primary.
Well, you can't though, because it happens in your fight phase, and then at the end of the fight phase, it's gone.
Don't carry.
Correct.
Why would you do that then? Oh, if you were just going from one combat to another.
Yeah, so you could stop interrupt heroic. If you're gonna kill a unit and the character, you can make them have to make a battleship test, not to be able to fight on death, not to be able to heroic. All of those things.
It's not awful.
It's niche.
Yeah, it's not awful, but not as good as I just thought it was.
Yeah, if it said they are battle shocked until the start of your command phase, now this would be a snap CP.
Yeah,
you'd be doing that straight away. Again, I like it. I think it's a mid-tier detachment. I think you're going to find Night Lord players who want to run Raptors and Warp Talons and stuff are going to enjoy it just because the uppy downy and the stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be the highest levels of competitive. But, I mean, you've got a lot of fun stuff to play with if you want to.
A lot of fun stuff, and it instantly looks better than every single Custodes detachment.
I mean, not a high bar, but yes.
They can't complain. Clearly someone else wrote this book.
Yeah. This feels like...
This was the other team. This was the Orc team.
I think this might be a combination of the Orc team and the Custodes team. Each of them took 4 detachments.
Better ways to do it. Don't wreck a whole faction. Don't destroy an entire faction.
This one, unfortunately, is the Custodes Writer in our next attachment. It's the Fellhammer Siege Host. I read this the first time, I was like, yes, this is great. I read it the second time and thought, no, this is terrible. So each time a ranged attack targets a Heretic Astartes unit from your army, excluding damned, so Marines only, if the strength of the characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness, subtract 1 from the wound roll. The first time I read that, I didn't read the word ranged attack, and I thought this said, you basically get mini transhuman. Unfortunately, it does say ranged attack, which means this doesn't count for half of the game, because in melee, this is not even applicable. That upset me a great deal, because, having mini transhuman in the stand and shoot meta right now is quite good. But why are we not taking the assault and armor penetration rule over this? Because, I can still do that in combat. The enhancements, they've got one that reduces damage to 0. They have one actually warp tracer, where they can, if the character is shot, they can reduce cover from the enemy. That's a nice way of reducing the AP, or essentially giving you +1 AP. And you can see this links back to the Raiders detachment, +1 AP. You also have the kind of laudable Iron Artifice, which is anti-vehicle 4+, and anti-fortification 4+. I think everyone's going to mention that. If someone wants to put their Hammerfell bunker on the table, I don't even think it's legal, but Forge Well, let's go. Then you can win that on a 4+. The enhancements are a letdown. Other than amazing. The Warp Tracer, which is one you can remove cover from one unit, which is going to be auto take if you take this. I can't really see a reason to take this at all. Although you could probably take Bastion Plate in a unit Terminators, if Terminators were good. And then Iron Warriors don't get Armor of Contempt stratagem, which is the one, for the army that's supposed to be stand out in the open and just tank things. That was a disappointment as well. They do get a 5-up Feel No Pain instead. And I think if they'd have been given Armor of Contempt... Yeah.
It's only shooting, I think.
So
until the end of the phase, you have 5-up Feel No Pain. What's with all the anti-shooting stuff and not anti-getting stabbed in the face?
It's a melee meta, so so a lot of them was like persistent assailants looks good, but you only do it so you can reroll the hit roll, which is good, but you have to get them below half strength to reroll the wound roll as well. So I could take Veterans of Ultramar, because it's basically Smurf Marines, and just pick a unit and always have the rerolls for no CP. Or I have to come here. Point Blank Destruction, which is the unit, if you don't have blast weapons, you can shoot like pistols in combat. One of Iron Warrior's key units is an Obliterator. Unfortunately, because one of their profiles has blast, you can't use that on this.
That feels like the whole point of the stratagem.
Yeah, but because if you have blast on it and you have multi-profile weapon, if one of those has blast, you can't use this. So you can't be like, I'm going to take the autocannon that has sustained lethal hits, wherever it is. It doesn't count for that. And it kind of takes away this is good on Havocs. They're going to stand and shoot, or I think that you if you want to shoot with your tanks into combat against infantry, then that's kind of nice. Whatever, man.
Siegecraft, is that any good? Start of your opponent's charge phase, target one Heretic Astartes unit, effect until the end of the phase. Each time an enemy unit selects your unit as a target of the charge, subtract 2 from the charge roll.
No.
Most people just get close enough to make sure that that doesn't factor in, right?
Yeah, so if they're within 1 to 5 inches, you don't use this. Okay. it's not relevant.
I guess it's like a deep strike target in it, don't we? Someone deep strike something. It's kind of like, okay, cool.
You can make 11-inch charge off deep strike, or if you're the opposing player, knowing that this is here means you don't get to use it, because I'm going to get out my Rhino, I'm going to charge. Oh wait, it's a 7 inches. You're going to make that 9 inches, maybe not. I might go for it. I get out, it's 8 inches away. You're going to make it 10 inches. Well, actually, I'll just move my Rhino.
Yeah.
So it forces you to play around it, but it doesn't actually benefit the game in any way.
Yeah, and it's not amazing enough. Like, it doesn't really warrant going into the detachment. If
you look at the other 3 detachments we've done so far, each of them have at least 3 strats that you want to do. And this one, I'm going to say the 5-up Feel No Pain is nice, but that's the only one that I care about. So, unfortunately, this detachment for me is the bottom of them.
Yeah, this one's making me sad. Let's get off it. So I don't like crap rules.
Yeah. We have there are 2 that you might not be able to see right now, and I'll go through them into them. We have the Chaos Cults. Okay, so this is the cult list, and if you want to take Damned, which are all Chaos Cultists, this one feels really good.
What's it called?
But it doesn't. It's called Chaos Cult.
Chaos Cult. Okay.
The detachment rule is called Desperate Devotion. Each time the damned unit from the army is selected to make a move, a normal move, advance, or charge, excluding units that arrive from reserve this turn, it can make a Desperate Pact. Okay? If it does, add 2 units to the move. Add 2 to the move of the characteristic and the charge rolls. Desperate. You know what a Dark Pact is. Desperate Pact is the same, except you don't get sustained or lethal. You get whatever the effect the damned unit would have. Which means you can do a Dark Pact, you can do a Desperate Pact. If you fail both of them, you can take up to 6 immortal wounds. So these guys are... If you thought you were going to kill yourself playing this army, you're correct. You are going to be rolling leadership tests and failing lots of them, although you probably want to take... There's a unit, I think... Dark Apostle that has leadership of 5. I suggest you run 3 of those. If you want to do it, you run 3 of those, so you're not wasting your whole army. But you can make a Cursed Cultist gain Scout in the book, okay? So those are the ones with the big guys, little guys. You can give them Scout so they can move 6 before the game. They have a movement of 6. You can make a Desperate Pact, make the movement 8 and charge 8. So, we're already movement 6 to move 8. We've only got like a 5 or 6 inch charge to your front line, which is looking quite tasty, if I'm honest with you. I quite like this as a rule. They have some interesting enhancements. You can add, adding Dark Apostle or Damned only. While this unit is below starting strength, so they have to take 1 damage of any kind. You can add 1 strength to the unit. If they're below half strength, you can add 1 damage to that unit. 1 strength to that attack. So they're going to do lots of what you'd call it. If you're taking damage, they're taking damage. They're going to take advantage of that. They have a stratagem. Shooting or fight phase. 1 damned unit from the army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. You can make a Desperate Pact, as we've said. If it does until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. So you're always going to get this. If you pass the Desperate Pact, you could re-roll the wound roll as well.
Sounds pretty good.
So it's potentially like 30 attacks, re-rolling all hits or wounds. Is quite strong. They have an advance and charge stratagem, and they're basically like an army that sets up, moves real quick into your face, and just tries to do loads of damage with really cheap models.
Yeah, it's going to be like a spam, tie you up, engage on your side of the board, just with loads of crap.
this is their Green Tide. This is their
Crew
End of Swarm ability. Yeah. Okay. It's chaosy. It's fun. If you like the cultist, this is the one to go for. Nothing in this entire rule set affects normal Marines or tanks. Okay. So you wouldn't be taking this to share or interacting with those units in any way. Which is that good? I don't know. I would like to say yes. I think it's very. If you like this models, it's probably the rank one in the book for you. Okay.
You think he's got like a viable game?
Yeah, definitely.
But you got to lean. You obviously, from a collection point of view, you got to lean pretty heavy.
Yeah, you're going to have
it's mega cultist focused, and the other stuff doesn't really offer a lot.
You're going to have a whole load of cultists, and the moment you start, you probably take 1 or 2 tanks, but you're not going to have any Marines on the board. And are you playing the army for that, or are you playing the army for the actual Marines? That's a choice for you. But I think it's very strong.
Seems good. Seems decent.
What
we've got next? Zealots?
Yep, we've got the Zealot one. So Pactbound Zealots. This is the index one, okay? It has changed a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail of it, but they've taken a little bit of the power from the detachment rule. You still have Marks of Chaos. You still have... In fact, actually, this is the only detachment where you can give your units Marks of Chaos. So in theory, every other detachment in the book is undecided, which means
undivided.
You can put...
Although undecided is actually... I'm now going to use that, undecided. They're just thinking about it.
Yeah, which one are you going to go for? You haven't decided
undecided.
Yet. In all focus, it's exactly the same. Even the enhancements are the same. I think what they've done is they've changed one stratagem where they've removed the Armor of Contempt for 2 CP that no one ever used, because why would you? So fight phase after Heretic starts, character unit from the army excluding damned and heroic units targets 1 character model. Add 1 to the move, toughness, wounds, characteristic of the model, and add 1 to the strength, attack, and damage of the character's melee weapons.
That's pretty good.
So basically, you have to. If your character kills a character, you get +1 wound, +1 toughness, +1 move, +1 attack, +1 strength, +1 damage.
That's pretty good. Is there any way getting precision? Have they got any? Is that easy?
Well, you could do Epic Challenge from the core rule book. And if you can kill, and it kills, it's not even like, it's not too hard if you can kill, like you have that librarian with the scout, so you kill the scout unit.
Crap, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to buff, a Chaos Lord can then give himself +1 damage, +1, he's going to be pretty good if this goes off. He's going to be
angry. How much is Epic Challenge? 1 CP or 2?
Yeah, 1 CP. Cool. So on the turn that you go. It doesn't have advanced charge. The Festering Miasma for loan up on your tank is still 18 inches, and it still requires you to be Nurgle as far as we can tell. I'm assuming that the FAQ that said you have to be in a Nurgle unit in a Nurgle tank still applies, although there's nothing in this book that concerns that either way. I can't see a reason why they would change that. This detachment is strong. It was strong the day it came out. It got nerfed because of it. It's not really been nerfed too much in this book in comparison to where it is now after the data slate. Again, we depend on if the points are changing on the data slate units, because some of them have got some interesting data slate updates. I say this is potentially in the top 3.
Still super solid. I mean, it has been. It ruled the roost for a little bit, didn't it, before it got slightly calmed down?
Yes.
But the core strength of it is still there in its abilities. Yep. It's the detachment has stayed strong, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we've got one more left, Rob. Soulforged Warpack. Have you saved the best till last? What's the deal with this?
Yeah, I saved my favourite till last. Okay. So, Trashtor the Infinite was his name previously. Vashtor the Archifane, as he's now known.
Is this lore? Are you giving me Warhammer lore here?
No, this is the We Are the People are named him Trashtor because he was terrible. Okay, this detachment, plus the fact they changed his data sheet, means he can now have his name back. It's built around Vashtor the Archifane. He's the demon engine guy. And this detachment rule is about the Soulforged. Each time a heretic Astartes demon vehicle from your army makes a dark pact, it can invoke its contract. You're always doing this, I think. If it does, subtract 1 from the resulting leadership when making the dark pact until the end of the phase. And each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the wound roll. And each time you make a melee attack, you add 2 additional attacks. Okay? So, you dark pact on your warp engine, you get +1 to wound. The strength 9 on the Forge Fiend, they've got their 3d3 strength 9 attacks actually as wounding you on 4s, not 5s, against toughness 10 vehicles, or you're wounding the monolith on 4s, not 5s, which is quite strong.
Then Seems pretty good. Is it just the subtracting 1 from leadership doesn't feel horrendous? It's not the worst thing in the world.
You're going to be making your leadership on 7 or 8, not 6. And if you do, you take D3 mortal wounds, which is, you're going to fail it a bit more often. You're going to take a few more mortals.
Even if you do, it's still like the reward is not awful there, is it? It's still pretty strong. You're like, well, fine, I've taken a couple of wounds, but I'm also +1 to wound my range attacks and +2 attacks with melee weapons.
Yeah, and I think you're going to invoke the Pact every time. I also think because of this type of army, you're going to take 3 warp smiths so you can repair some wounds. Probably want to anyway. It's got arguably 3 really strong enhancements. If you Forge's Blessing in your command phase, you can give 1 vehicle a 6-up feel no pain. Now, you yourself know how anything can come in melters. It takes 2 melters damage, 5 or 6 in order to kill my 12 wound tank. If you have a 6-up feel no pain, generally that pushes any of those guns from 2 of them to 3 of them, which is quite significant, yeah? So, your unit, your fire prism that has 12 damage that it always hits, you're going to need 2 fire prisms to kill my tank rather than just the 1. Or you're going to need 3 successful melters. It's quite a big jump up, and I quite like that one. Tempting Addendum. Auto take. Heretic Astartes model. Each time a demon vehicle within 3, so you're going to need to have this on a base that's quite big, maybe a demon prince or something to spread the aura out because it's quite small. It suffers 1 or more mortal wounds, add 1 to it. Okay? So when you make your Dark Pact and you fail because you made the contract, you're going to take between 2 and 4 mortals, which is a pain, but you take it every time. And if you do so, until the end of the phase, each time you make an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll.
Oh, for a moment.
I take my dark, in an aura around it on demon vehicles. Just real strong. And then I quite like the invigorated mechadendrites because your movement 10 tanks might want the movement 6 tech marine that's keeping them alive to have movement 10, right? I think, again, 10, as I keep saying, if it's 10 or 15 points, it's an auto take. At 25, maybe not. I quite like that one. It's got some pretty good stratagems as well. So the one that's probably the most relevant to this is Demonic Possession. Target 1 vehicle that isn't a demon unit and make it a demon unit. So, hello Vindicator. hello, Land Raider. You're now a demon tank, and you benefit from all of these rules. Now, most stratagems last until the end of the phase, right? This one lasts until the end of the battle.
Oh, wow.
So I can invest on turn 1. On your turn 1, I can make my Vindicator a demon for the whole of the game. So I don't have to pay this every time I want to use this. This is just, there's a demon in my tank. And I love the thought of that. No.
Yeah, it's a bit of fun. So you're getting the detachment rule, and then you're getting the potential for the tempting addendum as well.
Yeah, so
addendum.
It means, I think the biggest example is the Vindicator, which got the bonus to it. You know, you can have a Vindicator that's +1 to wound, strength 14 gun. Hello, sir, strength 14, +1 to wound. I'm wounding everything in the game on 2s.
Yeah.
And I have a Tech Marine next to me. I'm hitting on 2s, re-rolling them.
Re-rolling the hit roll.
Yeah. Okay. Might take 2 Vindicators in this list, right? That's pretty good. Shooting phase, Desperate Pledge, 1 Heretics Demon Vehicle. Until the end of the phase, if you invoke the contract, I told you you're going to invoke the contract every time, improve the AP by 1. I quite like the Forge Fiend with autocannons, AP 2 or 3. I think it makes the Venom Crawler AP 2 or AP 3. Suddenly these are quite good. You got an interesting one where you can move. If you get attacked or shot, you can move at the end of their turn. So like the reactive move that you would have in a Marine army. This one is for a vehicle, but you have to move towards it. So you can't back away, which is, if your opponent is trying to do something sneaky on an objective, you've got some kind of control of it there. And you have another one where Demon Vehicle, if it's in engagement range of the enemy and they want to fall back, they must take a Desperate Break test. So if you I quite like the thought of a Defiler with this massive claws on it's on a 7-inch round base and it targets 3 units. If any of those units want to pull back, every single model has to make a Desperate Break test.
Seems good.
But the main one that makes this whole army tick is Unstoppable Rampage. You're a knight player, right? What's the worst thing about terrain?
But you can't walk through it.
For 1 CP, they can.
Oh, here we go again. Chaos with the walk through stuff.
Yeah. So
get lost.
Movement or charge phase, 1 CP, move through the terrain if it's not there.
Knights better get that one.
I don't know if you will, but I feel that honestly, it's the difference between
like a jump or
army.
something, like a jump pack.
Night jump pack. That's got to be a new meme. Paul.
It's a jump pack. Is this a bit of a meme detachment though? Because like it's very vehicle spammy. It's a lot of vehicle. So it's. I mean,
it's a heavy vehicle army. Okay. Is it a meme? No, because the damage on the tanks is so good. So you've seen 3 Forge Fiends with their devastating guns, right?
Yeah.
The problem they've always had is they can't reroll hits. Well, they can now with tempting addendum.
Harder.
They're hitting harder because they wound harder. They've got more AP.
Yeah.
They're gonna die really quick when they start failing.
Yeah, because by the time you get there, they're going to hurt themselves a bunch.
Yeah. And the Vindicator is silly. 2 Vindicators in this army, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s,
re-rolling.
That thought is. I've got to reach out to Guy and say, Guy, you need 2 Vindicators, 3 Forge Fiends. Vashta also has a
Aura, when a friendly demon vehicle is within 6 inches of this model, add 1 to the strength characteristic of models equipped by models in that unit, of weapons equipped by models in that unit.
So
Jesus.
We were looking at the strength 9 on the Forge Fiend, right?
Yeah. So that was 10, we're in 6 of him.
Break point, and he's +1 to wound. So that means you're wounding almost everything that isn't a tank on 2s, and you're wounding Mega Knobs. You're wounding on 2s. Custodians, you're wounding on 2s. Wraiths, you're wounding on 2s. It's a big difference, his aura. Yeah?
Yeah, it seems good.
If you start shooting at the average tank in the game with toughness 10, you're wounding on 3s. If we want a strength 15 Vindicator, let's go.
Wheel them out the garage, boy.
Yeah. I don't know when you'd want your strength 15. Honestly, I think 2 in this.
Nice.
Going back to what you were saying, though, this is another detachment where it's about your collection. If you really like the Demon Engines, you really like your Venom Crawlers, you really like your Forge Fiends, you've not really had they tried to bring Rashtor in to give you a reason to play that army, and it's kind of been, yeah, whatever. I know players, we both know, like players like Guy, who are like, I'd love to play that, I just really don't want to do it because it's got no supporting rules, and this gives you supporting rules. Is it the most competitive in the current meta? Maybe not, because it's a melee meta. Although you can have your Mauler Fiends with 2 more attacks, wounding on, with strength 10, so they're wounding on better, they're re-rolling all hits, and they've got increased armor pen, so they're probably pretty good in there. It isn't, I think it's not as versatile as the Raiders one, which I think is probably my favourite.
You think that's probably number 1?
Questionably 1 or 2 between these 2, yeah. And in fact, I'd put the Chaos Pact one at number 3.
They're 3 just super solid detachment. They all 3 of those seem to have like really good, quite versatile game, don't they?
Yeah.
I feel like this is a good book.
It is a very strong book. It isn't, well, before we've seen the points, I'm going to say we don't know exactly if it's going to break the meta. Looking at just the rules and what you've got here, you have 7 detachments, Iron Warriors, where you can pick and play an army of your choice and have fun doing so. And shout out to Guy telling me that I must remember that you don't always have to play competitive, where you can pick up any one of those 7 and have fun. I think it's got the option of 2 or maybe 3 that are competitively viable, which is nice. But it's also got such, the internal balance isn't so off the scale where I'm always taking Synaptic Nexus or I'm always taking Invasion Swarm. Yeah. And in teams play, if you see Chaos Knights, Chaos Space Marines, am I playing spam? Am I playing tanks? Am I playing a combined arms? I really like that dynamic. You'd have to wait and see what the army is. You can't just be like, Chaos Space Marines, yellow matchup.
Yeah, so, I like it. It seems good. I think this feels more, I mean, obviously, again, we haven't seen the points yet, so we'll see what the points have in store, but it doesn't feel like, I don't have a gut feeling that the points are going to be wacky. I imagine they'll be fairly sensible and in line with what we've seen so far of Chaos, because I've not really messed with the points a great deal. There was a last update where they tinkered them a little bit, didn't they? They changed the Nurgle rule.
Yeah.
Because that was the main thing that was causing problems, wasn't it? It was just like, no, you can't shoot that.
I'm on the fence about whether or not that was a good change. Putting a Nurgle unit in a Nurgle Rhino and giving it lone op seems fair. Putting a Khorne or Slanesh unit in a Nurgle Rhino from a lore perspective is like, what the fuck? But it also takes quite an amount, like not being able to do that.
Yeah.
Limits what you can take and what you can't take. Now, fortunately, it's only in one detachment. As I say, the rest of them are undecided. If I want to advance and charge, I can always do that from the Raiders detachment. And I can take my Khorne chosen if I've painted them like that, or I can take my Slanesh chosen because they're not, none of them are the same. And I can run them the way I want to run them.
Just as like as a sort of closing thoughts on the book, how do you think this will sit within the meta? But, bearing in mind the orcs are about to be absolutely everywhere. Necrons are kicking around, still looking pretty strong. Towels at some point are going to be out.
I think the top 5 armies are going to be orcs, Necrons, Sisters, Tau, and I can't remember what the last one is, but I don't think Chaos Chaos are going to sit just below them, all right? Again, depending on points. They have the rules to compete into any of those matchups, but their rules are not, they don't have broken units. I still think they're going to struggle to deal with Mega Nobs with it, other than maybe the Vindicator.
I think everyone is. Everyone's going to struggle with Mega Nobs.
At 30 points per model, no comment. But like the meta at the moment, or if you take out the Orc Dread detachment, which is essentially the tank detachment, they're sitting at 60-65% win rate, right? So you have to be able to build to see them, and you have to be able to build to see Necrons, and you probably need to be able to deal with Sisters. Those three army and maybe Marines, because there's always one or two good Marine players. I think they can build to deal with Sisters. I think they can build to deal with Marines, and they can probably build to deal with Tau. I'm struggling to see a build outside of Vashtor that deals with Bully Boys, but the Vashtor build doesn't deal with the Green Tide. Okay, because they're so different, you're just not going to have enough shots. And that's where I'm stuck. So I would say I'm going to put them in like solid A tiers. You know, they look strong. They've got lots of variations. A good person with this army is going to be able to win events. I don't think they're going to be top again, unless they go crazy with the points. I don't think they're going to be smashing the meta. And if I'm honest with you, that's where I'd like a book to come out at. I'd much rather have a book come out at that level than it just be table your opponent. That was, you know.
Yeah, totally. GW do this, don't they? This reminds me a little bit of the Codex Space Marines, but the Adeptus Astartes book. It's just like, it just feels fairly versatile. Some really strong detachments that you're like, yes, that's clearly good. That is always going to be good. But also, if you want to go a bit off that and, you know, you've got this collection that you really want to use, there's this detachment. I think that book feels similar to this, nice depth to it. And a couple that do stand out that you're like, yeah, they're going to be good. And like, if you want to play competitively, you can jump in those detachments and like, you've got a really good list in your hands, but you've not got something that you need to worry about getting mega nerfed straight away. Because like the bit that if I'm playing a faction, then a really good book comes out. The bit that's annoying is you kind of like, we just know that's going to get nerfed. You know, like, I've bought the army, I've got all the stuff. You're like, well, yeah, it's about to get like slapped. So it's going to get persistently adjusted, which is going to frustrate you collecting it. You're going to have to keep tinkering with your list. It's going to annoy your opponents as well if it comes out a little bit overcooked. Yeah. So this feels quite an ideal point. It's a good list.
Well, I'm going to add, be careful about the Chaos Cult list, which is the cultists. I think there is a world where that is a bit potentially too strong in the wrong meta. Being able to put 60 bodies that go 6, then move 8, and then charge 8, and you can advance and charge 2 of them.
Yeah, that feels good. It feels a bit World Eater-esque, that, doesn't it? It's kind of like, where can I set up? Yeah. Like, well, just nowhere, really. Just hope that I don't go first. And the difference
between them and World Eaters is you've got 200 bodies and not 30 coming at you, right?
That feels like the balancing act of World Eaters, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, they're really good. They're going to get in your face, but it's not a huge army, is it? Once Angron's in it and a bunch of Unbound, it's not the hugest army.
So if you have the cultists, try it. I'm going to put be careful, don't go and buy them and not expect them to get nerfed.
Yeah, I think
you're probably going to see 5 or 10 points on each of the units just to be safe. But other than that, I agree. It's in it. I don't think nothing is going to get, they're going to get balanced either way, if they're good or they're bad, but I don't think you're going to be able to not play your models.
Yeah, fair. Did I just say Unbound? It's 8-bound, isn't it? Not Unbound.
8-bound.
8-bound. What lovely models they are. Keep looking at them. You're going to give me some help, mate. Nice. Mate. Tell me how to play this list.
Yeah, definitely.
Good lad. Rob, that was
you can play Brandon style.
I can play Brandon style?
Just charge. Just charge.
Straight in. Sounds fun. Mate, that was a really good run through of the book. I'm excited to see it on the table, and there's a bunch of guys that play at the club. We're definitely going to see it at the Brighton Club, which will be great. We'll definitely see it at events, and look forward to seeing how that sort of settles into the reasonably, I guess, predictable meta over the past few months. It feels like it's not in an awful place. It feels like there's loads of viable lists. There's a couple of factions that you mentioned that are like consistently doing pretty well and hitting the 55s. nudging
Yeah,
towards the
I'm worried
60s.
about orcs.
Yeah.
Outside of that.
Yeah, outside of orcs, don't feel too awful. So hopefully they settle in nice and calmly in that upper tier, but not broken. Maybe. We'll see.
I think they need an emergency 10 points on Mega Knobs. Other than that, like if they made Mega Knobs 30 points more per model unit, then you're probably okay.
What, 40 points? They're 30 points. Put them up to 40.
They're 30 points per model now for a T6, 3 wound, 2 up, 5 up, 4 up, feel no pain on the war turns.
Which there's 2 of.
Well, yeah, 2 in Bully Boys there is, and it's like they don't do a lot of damage. They don't break you.
They just don't die, and they stand on objectives.
Yeah, exactly. I'll put three blocks on 3 objectives.
Yeah.
Have fun on your primary for 2 turns.
All the best.
Yeah. In a truck for 1 turn as well.
Yeah. Fun times. Rob, I appreciate my friend. That was spot on. Appreciate you going through that with me. And
Anytime,
thank you to everyone who watched. We will catch you next time.
Nice one.
So there you go. That was a chat with me and Rob. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Like and subscribe. Look after the people you care about. Drink lots of water. Touch grass. Get sun. Don't play knights. Play Space Marines. Don't play Chaos. I don't know. Just take it easy. Thanks for watching.